So I'm back this morning to finish off my quilt, and I had to do some more unpicking this morning. When I had a look at it, I thought, oh, there's one of the squares I wasn't quite happy with. So I unpicked one of these blue ones anyway. I fixed that up so it looks a bit nicer now. So yesterday afternoon what I did was I cut the square, the 9 pieces, once I put the border on. And then I cut the backing to the same size, and then I sewed the two together. And then all I do then is just chop the corner off so so it's not so bulky. So that's all ready to go. I'll just put this back. Right, so that's where I'm at the moment. So that's looking pretty all right. Now this border, you can do this really fancy, like you can put an additional border that goes over the edge to the other side. I find it all too hard, so I can't be bothered. So yesterday it took me to get to this stage where I'm now just need to put the batting in and do the quilting. Took me from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and that included some unpicking because I had made an error. Don't worry about any of these little bits and pieces that's hanging out, these little things. That all gets cleaned up at the end, so I'm not cleaning that now. Later. So the edge, the only time I change from the normal straight stitch to a zigzag is just for this little edge here. I do that on each of those, and that's where I'm going to be cutting in. So I normally just get from Spotlight, I just get this. You get different thicknesses, so I get quite a thin batting, and this is probably enough for 2 quilts. So I've laid some out already, and I just have to cut it to size. You just got to make sure you cut it the right size. Cut it exactly right. Don't cut it any bigger, because otherwise you end up with bits that are crunched up on the edges. So you don't want it too small, you don't want it too big, you want it a nice Goldilocks, exactly right. Anything left over, so even this section here that will be left over once I cut it, goes back into my bag, because I can just sew it to, if I need to patch this one for the next quilt because it's not big enough, I will just use, I'll just use this needle, something like that, and I'll just sew it. You just sew the 2 pieces together because nobody can see what's happening. Jack, nobody can see what's happening inside the quilt. So I'm going to cut the wadding now and stick that inside, and then I'm going to pin it. This is the first time I'm using pins for the quilt, and I'll start the pins start here and then they go around in a circle, but I'll show you how to do that. And then I've got to sew it, and so I don't hand stitch this edge. I used to, I don't anymore. I just sew that with the machine, so it doesn't look very nice. I might see if I can find some white cotton to do that with. And I didn't mention it yesterday, but in terms of being ready, oh goodness, no, probably not going to work now, but in terms of getting set up, I normally have, I make sure that I've got 3 of these, at least 3. It's full, it's gone, and the second one's gone in. So with the quilting you start using some more cotton. So I'm ready. I don't have to get interrupted by having to sort out my machine. And the other thing I didn't mention yesterday is when you cut your thread, after you sew each time, I tend to cut it quite long, because the last thing I want is for my thread to come undone out of the needle. I don't have a self-threading needle, so I have to sit there and try and get, probably one of the things that takes the longest is try and get the thread through the hole of the needle. Oh goodness. So I try to avoid that by making that quite long. Anyway, now, so I'll go and do the next step and then show you where I'm at.